What's going on, my friend? This is Dustin STELZER with Electrician U, and today we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different commercial materials that you should know if you're getting into commercial electrical work. Number one is the 1900 box. So this is essentially a multi-use box. What you do is you put a device in it. So you could have a receptacle or you could have a switch inside of here, and you bring all of your wires into these knockouts around the sides. Next up is the industrial cover. It actually fits on a 1900 box. Next up is the mud ring. They come in different depths. They come in different numbers of devices. You would put this on the front and it allows you to put sheetrock over it. Next up is the bracket box. And what it does is allows you to actually stand it up on something and then screw it in place. So if this is a stud, the box screws to it. The next box that you want to know is the GANGABLE box. Some people call this a cut-in box or a pop-in box, but typically you're going to be cutting sheetrock and sticking this inside of a hole into a wall and then running wires into it and then having a device inside of here. There's screws here and you can actually remove these plates and you can stack multiple of them together to make like a 3 or a 4 or a 5 or a 7 or a 10 gang box if you want to. Next up are MC connectors. There are single MC connectors that a single piece of MC cable goes into. You would literally just knock one of these holes out and snap this thing in place. It locks in and then you run your wire into it. These are double barrel connectors because you can put 2 wires in them. All right, so next on our list is MC cable. Essentially, it's gonna be the same thing as Romex on the inside, but most of the time you're gonna be using MC because it's a lot more rigid, it's harder to break. There's all different kinds of MC. Just like there's a whole bunch of different kinds of Romex. But so you can understand what MC is, here it is. All right, next up are conduit fittings. This is a connector, whereas this is a coupling. You notice there's no threading on the couplings. They just, it's a pipe in and pipe out. Whereas a connector, there's actually threading on one side that goes into a box. So your conduit stops at that box. Couplings, connectors. Another good thing to know is the blank. So 1900 blank is something that goes on a 1900 box. If there's not a device going in it and you're just making up joints and pushing them in the back, you're going to use a cover. Next up is the 12 by 12 junction box. You're going to use a lot of these. You're going to see boxes that look this sized, where it's 4 inches deep by 12 inches wide by 12 inches down. These are just pretty much the same thing as a 1900 box, just a lot bigger. Another thing that you're going to come across in commercial a lot are relays. Essentially, just know that relays are multi-pole switches, but it's an electronic remotely controlled switch. So just know a relay is an electromagnetic switch that you can switch multiple things with. All right, so I can't talk about the relay unless I talk about the contactor as well. So a contactor is the exact same thing as a relay. It just handles more amperage, so it's used in a little bit more beefy situations. What it does is it allows you to take one action that affects a whole bunch of different circuits at the same time. All right, next up, we've got spring nuts and cone nuts. So spring nuts go inside of Unistrut or Kindorf or strut channel or whatever you call this stuff. But they twist in there and it allows you to have a surface to bolt onto. Cone nuts are a good alternative. I love cone nuts. It's really all I use. But the same thing, they push inside and they spin and just lock in place. And they're nice because you can slide them. Next up is strut or Kindorf or Cantruss or strut rack or channel, whatever. There's so many different names for what this is. You're usually using it because it's so rigid to mount things to. You bolt it into concrete, pour fresh concrete, and bury one of these, and then when the concrete dries, you get something really sturdy and rigid. Sometimes we even just use them to strap pipe. We'll build a service on a wall, and we'll stick this behind our riser so we have something to attach our riser to. Next up, I'm going to talk about 2 different kinds of conduit. EMT, electrical metallic tubing, and the other one is rigid metal conduit. This stuff lasts a really, really long time and it's damn near impossible to break. You'll always be able to tell rigid when it's brand new on a shelf because it comes threaded. But EMT, you're never gonna thread. You're always gonna use couplings and connectors and stuff to put on the ends of these things. All right, the last one I wanna cover is flex, or flexible metal conduit. Most people just call this flex though. All right, my friends, so that's it.